Hi, my name's Reagan, and this is my story. So, for a little bit of context, I'll kind of explain my family dynamics. I have an older sister. She's 4 years older than me, and she is autistic, and she had a stroke at birth, so she has very limited ability to take care of herself. So, growing up, being 4 years younger than my sister, I kind of became a bit of a caretaker in my family, probably starting from the age of 6. My sister has a lot of seizures, and so it was always kind of our responsibility to make sure that she was okay at all times. So starting from a young age, that was really difficult. I'm having to kind of grow up pretty fast to be able to take care of my sibling. And then starting at the age of 12, my family decided to start doing foster care with medically fragile children, which essentially means either children who have, it could be a very wide range of things, so like any kind of health issues or autism or highly aggressive behaviors. We kind of saw it all. We ultimately had probably around 50 kids come through our home from the time I was 12 to the age of 17. Which, is a really difficult time of development and me just learning about who I am and learning about the world around me and seeing that my life was a lot different than other kids my age. And again, kind of taking on that caretaker role. But a lot of blessings did come from that. I have 3 younger siblings who we adopted through foster care who are absolute goofballs, and I love them so much, but it was really, really hard growing up. I started struggling with anxiety and depression around the age of 12. I do think part of it is because of how difficult it was taking care of people, and oftentimes I felt like my needs growing up weren't taken care of as well. And, it's not 100% my parents' fault. They did the best they could, but it was really hard, not only taking care of my older sister, but taking care of my younger siblings and my parents' attention all going to them because they needed a lot of care, and I understood that, but it was really, really hard at times, especially when I got to some of my lowest points, when I had suicidal thoughts and I didn't really have a relationship with God, so I didn't have anyone to turn to. Because if I turned to my family, they were already under so much stress and had so much on their plate that I felt I couldn't talk to anyone. And then I couldn't talk with God because I believed he existed, but at times was really angry with him for giving me a sibling with autism and giving me my younger siblings. I love them so much, but it could be so hard at times not living a normal childhood. So around the time I hit high school, I had very low self-esteem. I did not think very highly of myself. I was craving love and attention that wasn't really being met at home. And so I kind of turned to boys and to relationships, and I got in some pretty bad relationships. One relationship in particular, I was put down, told that I was not beautiful. I was not worthy other than for physically how I looked. And even when I'd put on makeup and I'd wear cute outfits and I would make myself look my best, I was still told that I was never enough, and that really, really crushed me. But still, I pursued these relationships and I sought love and affection from boys around me, and I just had this big hole inside of me that I was constantly trying to fill, but nothing ever worked. This one relationship in particular was very manipulative. I was emotionally abused and very much harassed. It ended with him pretending to kill himself over a video call, and he blamed it on me. And I ultimately found out he faked it, but it left such a deep hole in me believing that anything that happened in a relationship was my fault. And so I became very depressed, very suicidal. I often cut myself and hid it. And that went on for I think the first 2 years of high school. I was still going to church. I would hang out with my church friends at church and at school, but it was a very empty title that I held. I didn't have any depth of knowledge. I wasn't praying. I wasn't reading my Bible. I definitely didn't have a relationship with God. So the summer before my senior year, I had just gotten out of another long and bad relationship and was still feeling very anxious and very depressed. But I met some friends at school that were very involved in church and were really good Christian friends, and they invited me to their church, and I started going to their Wednesday night youth group. And I decided then and there that I was just stepping back and was not going to pursue anyone and really try to focus on God. That entire summer, I went through a lot of ups and downs, with struggling with my identity in Christ and trying to really kind of learn who I was, because I never had a chance to. This is right after my family adopted my youngest sister, and we decided to close our home for foster care, and so our family was complete. So for the first time in my life, I could really just kind of take time to focus on myself and learn more about myself and who I actually was. Also learning more about God and learning more about my identity in Him, and really starting to build a relationship with Him. Senior year started, and I had a friend who I'd been friends with for several years, who I considered to be like a brother. And he had gone through a lot of issues at home and mental health issues that he didn't really talk about much, but I knew of. And we didn't talk pretty much at all that summer before senior year. And then when senior year started, he reached back out to me one day and we started talking again. And then out of the blue, in the middle of school one day, he messaged me and he told me that he was going to kill me. And I asked him why, and he said he just wanted to kill someone and I would be an easy target, which obviously really rocked me. And I went and talked to the school about it, and he was expelled, but he was the person that I confided in about the struggles I went through at home and my difficult relationships that I had been through. And really, he knew everything about me up to that point. And to hear someone that I was so close to say that they wanted to end my life kind of took me to rock bottom. I struggled so much, and all of the anxiety and the depression came back, and the wondering if I was good enough. My self-worth was at its all-time low, and I just wondered, why me? Why has all this happened to me? Why would God let this happen to me? And I held a lot of anger in that, wondering how could God allow this to happen to me? I had a lot of mistrust in men, a lot of hurt, but I continued going to church and I continued to try. I was reading my Bible and I was praying all the time. I will say most of those prayers were really angry and why me? Why me? Sitting where I am now, looking back at that time, I realize God was there. He was there in those lowest points, and He was always listening. And even though I was angry at God, I was still talking to Him. And that really was kind of the start of my pursuing a relationship with God. A foundation's got to start somewhere, whether it be in the highest moment of your life or in the lowest point of your life. And for me, that was one of the lowest points of my life. But that's where my foundation with God really started. About a month or two after that, I met this really cool guy. He is now my husband, and he really showed me what a godly man looked like, because he looked beyond my physical appearance. He saw me for who I am, and he loved me for who I am, and he never pressured me to do anything I didn't want to, and he always showed me love, so much love and kindness that I had never experienced before. And I never realized that this is what a relationship is supposed to look like, and this is what love is supposed to look like. It was in the first time in my life where I wasn't pursuing a relationship that it kind of fell into my lap, which I know now it was just God. God brought us together. We started talking, and I started going to church with him and his youth group. So the entirety of senior year, I spent growing closer to God and learning more about him. Things were still really difficult at home, and I still had a lot of baggage that I was carrying that was kind of inhibiting me from fully taking that next step to grow closer to God. So I graduate high school, and we both go to the same college, and we get a message from his old pastor saying, hey, there's a new church that's starting up in Murfreesboro where you're going to school, and they need some more people on the worship team, which music has always been my passion. But in that last year of high school, I had really gotten burnout from all of the hurt that I had in my life. And I wasn't on the worship team anymore. I wasn't doing the thing that I loved. Going to a new school, a new place, I got to start singing again, worshiping, continuing to grow closer to God. That church was quite honestly life-changing for me. I have never felt so at home before, and I had never felt like I truly had a family in this church. They loved on us so well, and they made us truly feel like we belonged. So I continued to grow throughout college and in the church, and I had finally gotten into therapy, which was life-changing for me. I learned that the things that happened to me weren't my fault, and that's when I really realized that God was with me through it all. He wasn't putting these on me to hurt me, but he would use the things that I went through to help me grow and to help me reach others, because I've had so many conversations with girls just like me who have been hurt and who have been abused, who have been through the lowest lows and have blamed it on themselves. And I was able to talk with some other people and really connect on that and grow together in our faith and in God. And I know that I wouldn't have been able to reach those people if I hadn't been through what I've been through. And I now realize that I was never alone during that. God was with me, and God was using the things that I've been through to reach others. Hitting rock bottom is what really helped me see God, and is the reason I reached out to God. Since graduating college, I have begun to pursue a career in ABA therapy, which is specifically a behavioral therapy working with kids with autism. It's really crazy how God works, because even though I struggled so much in my childhood growing up with an older sister who was autistic, and with my younger siblings and the foster children that came through our home who had many medical issues, God was preparing me this whole time for what he wanted me to do with my life. And that's reaching other kids and helping them grow and flourish and be able to be their best selves, be able to live their best lives. And I would not have been able to pursue this career without God and without the experiences that I've been through, because it's really hard work. But I've never been happier. I have found so much joy in my career and so much joy where God has put me in my life. I look back on those hard times, and yes, I recognize that they were hard, but I'm so thankful that God allowed me to go through some of those hardships, because it means that I am where I am now. And I wouldn't be able to do the things I'm doing now without those experiences and without him. So I'm going to leave you with two things. The first is that although things may be really hard right now, and you may be going through the toughest time of your life, you're not alone, and God is there, and he has a purpose for your pain and a purpose for what you're going through, and you're going to come out better and stronger for it. And the second is this: what are you putting your identity in? Are you putting your identity in the things of this world, in what culture says about you and what other people say about you, or are you finding your identity in what Christ says about you? Because this world is going to throw some really awful things your way, but God will always remind you of how much He loves you and that you are worthy. Booyah!